Everybody, welcome back to another episode of FSi DFS Fantasy Baseball Picks. I'm your host, Mega Rower 31. Happy Friday. Hope you're looking forward to a good weekend. Got a good weekend in sports here. So we got preseason football, we got baseball, got NASCAR at Daytona, and a truck race as a one-off. So PGA is going on. Lots of cool things. So probably getting ready for kids back to school and everything. So good time to maybe have one last weekend together before everything gets back into the fall routine. So we have a 12-game slate today. We have 4 games that have rain. I live, as you know, on the East Coast in Pennsylvania, right outside of Scranton, and it poured all night long, and looks like it's going to lighten up a little bit today, but that system's going to go from me over. It's a slow moving storm through most of these East Coast games. So cities like Baltimore, Philadelphia, New York City, and Boston all could potentially have precipitation during the game. So we'll talk about those as we get to them. So let's just jump right into the slate. So first game, we have the Cubs and the Pirates, a good central matchup here in the NL. Hendricks and Keller, decent pitchers on both sides and offenses that we've seen been able to do damage, but sometimes let you down. So interesting game here. Hendricks, I don't think he's in my no interest one because, as I've been saying, Pittsburgh's been not disciplined, so it leads to strikeouts, but they have been pretty free swinging and have put together some decent games recently. And he's not a huge K guy, so not interested in him. Keller, he started off the season so strong, but he's really declined. The Cubs have put together, they've gotten guys back in their lineup, and their strikeouts have gone down since they brought in like Candelario, and some of these guys have got healthy and returned in the current lineups. So not super interested in the pitchers here. Bats wise, I think the Cubs would probably be my second favorite GPP stack. They're super expensive to get in, with Bellinger being 6'1" and Horner being 5'8" and Swanson at 5'2", but there are some cheaper pieces that you can mix in. And Pittsburgh is probably my second favorite cheap stack here. Love the lefties. Bay leading off has been doing really well. Reynolds switch hitter. Swinski has been really good against righties. Even Andrew Rodriguez, the catcher's a switch hitter. Palacios had some home runs. Rivas, the guy that they got from the Cubs, has a lot of potential. He was a high prospect from them, so it's kind of a revenge series here. Hasn't gotten too much playing time, but there's an opportunity there. So big slate. Probably won't have too much of this game, but just keep some of those pieces in mind I mentioned. Rockies going to Baltimore here. It's 50 to 60, almost 70% chance of rain up until first pitch, but then it drops to 40, 30, 20. It really tapers off. So delay, possibly. Winds blowing out here, 85 degrees, 6 miles per hour. So it's moving the walls back. They've made it more of a pitcher's park, but Baltimore has some hitters that can knock the ball out of this park, and we've seen that. So Freeland, not interested in. Cole Irvin, I think he's the best value if this game plays here at 5K. He's been continuing to get, as he's come back, more and more pitches. And I think if he gets up to 85 or 90, he should be able to pay off his 5K price tag. The Rockies do have strikeouts in this lineup. And if like the wind's not blowing out a ton, so the pitcher's park still comes into play here. So Freeland, no. Irvin, yes, definitely, probably gonna be a SP2. Bats wise, Rockies would be the ultimate leverage shot because I think Irvin's gonna have a lot of ownership here. And then Baltimore is my favorite stack on the slate, but with the weather, I'll just have to keep an eye on that to see. You can play almost anybody here. Rushman, Mountcastle's been destroying lefty. Santander a home run last night. Gunnar Henderson, he hits both sides. He is just such a good young hitter. Inside out swing, can hit the ball any which way. It does. It just blew my mind in the Oakland game that he could have had a cycle. He had the home run, he had the triple, he had a double, and he had a hit, and he decided to go to second base and not get it. So he's just a young guy, ton of potential, hopefully no injuries, and he'll have a decent even like some of these other righties here, like Hayes and Westberg, in the line of McCann as a cheap catcher. There's lots of opportunities up and down this lineup. St. Louis and Philadelphia, Mikolas and Sanchez. Mikolas not interested in against this Philadelphia lineup. There's a little bit of rain here, but it's only 30%, so they should be done. It should be out of their area. The front goes across Pennsylvania to kind of like the New York, New Jersey, Philadelphia area, tri-state area there, and then it goes splits and goes down south and up towards New England. So they should be good over this game if weather-wise. I still have it in like blue there just to kind of remind me just to watch for it. But Mikolas not interested in Sanchez. I mean, St. Louis should be able to match up really good here. They're a heavy right-handed lineup against a left-handed pitcher, but they keep on letting me down. So I have them as 150 max as the top one. I think it's a stack or fade. Like, I don't think you really want to play a full stack here. But, Edmund switch hitter, O'Neill probably move up to the second spot, Goldsmith, Arenado, Contreras if you want to pay out for catcher, even Jordan Walker and Baker at first base if you wanted to go him over Goldsmith to be a little bit different. You can take a shot at Wynn, and the shortstop who's cheap, who has a bunch of potential, we just haven't seen it yet. And even if Furman's in, also another prospect there, there's definitely some, it's gonna be all right-handed lineup there. So next up with Philadelphia here, I think they're probably my second favorite one on the slate here against Mikolas. He's been a little bit reverse splitsy, so I think anybody's in play here, lefties, righties. Winds blowing out here, also 6 miles per hour, which is not a ton, but it's a little bit of lift hitting. So Philadelphia is definitely a great spot there. Next game, we have the Guardians and the Blue Jays. We have Bybee and Bassett. Tanner Bybee not interested in against Toronto. They had it was a fun series to watch against Baltimore. But now they returned home here and they're better there. Brandon Belt's been hitting well, so actually all of them are. They put runs up in the Toronto series. I think they took 1 out of 2, but still it wasn't like they got shut down. So things are starting to click. I think the guys are starting to get healthier. They're trying to make a push for the playoffs and stay in there too. So Toronto, like the bats, and I'm not going to play the Cleveland pitcher. Bassett on the other side, he's had his struggles, but he's better at home. And this Cleveland team just doesn't have any pop in it, besides Jose Ramirez, who went like 2 months without hitting a home run. So if he keeps at that rate, he won't hit another home run until probably the last game of the season. So not really afraid of him. And I think Bassett, even though I have him down, actually, you know what? Here's what I think. I think I'll move them up a little bit here. I think when I initially did it, I thought they were finishing up the series in Baltimore, and I didn't want them to. I would not take Bassett against Baltimore, but against Cleveland, I think he moves up there. So I think he's in a good spot. Bat-wise, Cleveland, I think in the cheap section, they're they only have a 3.81 total, so I'm not super interested in them there. And Toronto, I think, is the top GPP stack here with a 4.69 run total. Los Angeles Angels and New York Mets. Poor Angels. Wow. Mike Trout back on the IL. His wrist or whatever he was dealing with isn't good, so he's back, and I don't know if we'll see him the rest of the season. Shohei Ohtani, torn UCL, has to have Tommy John, probably might not pitch again until 2025. I think he wants to stay in just to see if he can get to the 50 home runs, but it's obviously going to affect his swing. So there's just so many injuries here. I think Cron's out again on the IL. It's just this team, they kept Ohtani, they made some trades, they wanted to make a push, and I think they've won 3 out of like, they're 3-9 since the All-Star break or something like that. It just didn't work out, which is, I was hoping for Ohtani's sake that they did make it, just to see him in the playoffs for the first time in his career, I believe. But it's just so bad. So Senga on this side is very, very interested because Ohtani's the only one that really, I know Shanuel Noel, the leadoff guy here that they called up at first base, the lefty, is definitely someone that I've been reading here about that has potential. And Moustakis is there, and Ohopi's back, which he had that shoulder injury. He was on fire, but I think I like him better against lefties and righties. So there's really nobody in this lineup. And Moniak, like, he's been hitting down in the order. Like, he was good against righties, but then cooled off. So I think Senga's in a great spot here, and probably my second favorite pitcher on the slate. If you don't want to pay up for Strider, you get a huge discount here at 9.6. Sandoval on the Angels side is who we're assuming it's going to pitch. It should have been Anderson, but yeah, come in and relieve Ohtani, and he seems like he's had his regular rest, so he should be good to go there. If it's not Sandoval, like, I don't really think that there's anybody that the Angels could throw out there that I would really want to play even against the Mets. So the Mets here, just because of the weather in this game, sorry to mention that earlier, it looks fine early, but then it's like 50 to 60% later on. So could be a little bit dangerous with Senga or whoever the starting pitchers are if they play a little bit and then have a delay and then go back out there and the pitcher doesn't. So we'll have to see. But as we get closer to game time, maybe we'll see. Maybe the rain will hold off a little bit and they'll be able to get to most of the game in. So it will be an official game before the rain starts to affect it. Mets bats, just because of the rain factor, I have them as 150 max. But if you want to take a shot against Sandoval with the righties, Lacrosco should be batting up maybe second and pretty cheap. Lindor, Alonso, Alvarez, I pretty much keep those. A mini stack. I don't think I go full stack on the Mets. Next up, we have Oakland and White Sox. This game had a lot of offense last night. You have Zach Neal opening and somebody coming in I forget who's coming in after him to be the long reliever today, but not interested in either one of them there. And then Cisse on the other side seems to be underpriced in this matchup. I know Oakland has Newcomb. Sean Newcomb's the one. Former Braves prospect is the one that's coming in for Oakland after the opener, Neal. But Cisse, sorry, I keep on saying Cisse. Somebody taught me this. It's cease, like cease and desist. So I've got it. Cease. So Dylan Cease is going to be the one that I think I really like tonight in the medium range here against Oakland. I know they put up some home runs last night, but I think that he'll be perfectly fine here. I like the White Sox bats. Is probably my favorite cheap stack. In Oakland, I think is a great leverage stack against Cease because they have shown some power here, especially, and it's a park upgrade for them too, even though the wind's blowing at 6 miles per hour. So I stick to the lefties. I go Noda. Jiloff has been hitting people, righties and lefties too, just amazing. But at 5.5, that's kind of takes them out of the cheap stack range. Brown, Rooker, Kemp had that home run last night. So, and then the White Sox side, like, just anybody's probably good. Benintendi had a home run last night. Roberts had a home run last night. Just mix and match, a lot of values to fill into your lineup. Dodgers and Red Sox, this is a game that scares me the most. It starts with a 60 to 70% chance of rain, and it seems like a 50% chance of rain throughout the rest of the game. I don't know if they'll play with a delay or not. If they do, like, I kind of like it. It's Fenway Park. The wind's blowing out 11 miles per hour, even though it's 70 degrees, which isn't, I'd rather it be like in the high 70s or 80s. But Lance Lynn and Cutter Crawford. Lynn is in a good spot here. If it does stay cool and maybe the winds die down, they're able to get this game in and it's solid. But I have him at the bottom as the top one just because of the weather and the wind, and the Red Sox can go all lefty on him, and he struggled more with lefties and righties. Cutter Crawford, not interested in. So Dodgers are probably my fourth favorite stack here. Definitely like Baltimore, Philly, and Arizona above them with the weather and all things considered, but I'll definitely keep them in play here. Righties or lefties, bets can hit anybody. Freeman, Muncy, your lefties, and then they'll probably go heavy lefty here with Peralta, Hayward, Altman. Bush had his first home run last night. He's a high prospect, so there's so many choices that are even cheap in this Dodgers lineup that can keep things going for you to mix in the studs. So you can go full stack, or you can go with some of the cheap guys as a fill-in of the rest of your cash lineup if you think the contest is going to play here. And I don't mind hunting the lefties, Verdugo, Devers, Turner can hit both sides well, Yoshida, Cassis, Abreu had a game yesterday as a rookie, just was a completely on fire home run, lots of hits. So maybe he's someone to keep our eye on also. So, I like some of these younger guys on the Red Sox too, with some of these. It's funny because Yoshida and Cassis are rookies, and I'm calling like Abreu and Reyes like these and younger guys, but because they're all about the same age. But Yoshida and Cassis are more established than some of these guys that they just called up. Reyes, he played for another team, I think, so I don't know his age, but he's not as experienced. But he's had some moments where he's come in and just had some really good timely hits and has shown some flashes of power too. So have to keep an eye on that through the end of this year. I don't think they're going to make the playoffs, but coming into next year, there could be a pretty decent lineup coming together in Boston here. Padres and Brewers, Yu Darvish and Woodruff looks like a good pitching matchup here. Woodruff, I know it's hard to pay his price for him because I don't know if he'll get the strikeouts against the San Diego lineup. But if he's on, he'll have a great game. If he's not, then like the Padres could definitely be a nice GPP lineup. Darvish is not the pitcher he's been with as many Ks as he had before, but I mean he's still going out there and doing well. I still expect him to get like probably anywhere from 14 to 16 DK points. Bat wise, I think both of these are just 150 max ones, although I was using some of the cheap Milwaukee bats on FanDuel as one-offs because I really couldn't find, if I wanted to use Strider and one of the more expensive stacks, a cheap stack with the positions that were open for me. Adames has just been on fire last 3 games. He's hit home runs 3 out of 4. And some of these guys have some good BVP because Darvish was played for the Cubs, so they used to play like what it was like 19 games against their division rivals a couple of years ago. So I think they've seen him a lot and know him pretty well. So keep that in mind. Rangers and Twins here. Dunning and Gray. Dunning has picked up his strikeouts recently, and Twins are a strikeout lineup. So I think in the cheap category at 7-4, I think he's in consideration here. If you don't trust Irving or Fadat from Arizona, the less established pitchers, I think you can definitely look at him. Sonny Gray on the other side, we saw what Texas did as an elite offense against Pablo Lopez, who is one of the probably most consistent pitchers in Major League Baseball, and they got to him. So I think, Texas is a sleeping giant. They had some injuries. They cooled off a little bit, and now they're starting to get back and get healthy with Hines back in the lineup. Like Seager's out for a little bit. He's back in the lineup. I know Jones not in the lineup, but I think some of these other younger guys that have been playing are starting to come together. Like I've always liked Duran all season long. And with Young out, that gives Duran like some more playing time to get some more hits and at bats and stuff. And I think it's just been a good thing for the whole team. And the wind is blowing out here 13 miles per hour. It's 81 degrees, which Minnesota is not a great ballpark for hitting, but that wind helps a little bit too. So Dunning interested in. Gray, I think he's risky up there with like Woodruff in the matchup and Lynn with the weather. So I think, Strider and Senga are probably the top ones there in that category. But, if you're multi-entering, I think, you could keep Gray into consideration. Bat-wise, Texas, I think, is a leverage stack if Gray does pick up some ownership. And then Minnesota is my third favorite cheap stack. As always, there's just so many cheap pieces that you can throw in against any pitchers, righties and lefties, mixing and matching. Cincinnati and Arizona. Cincinnati, I feel bad for, also like the Angels. Joey Votto is back on the injured list again. His shoulder that was surgically repaired is just not right. I don't know if he'll be back this year, or if this, I think he's 40. I think this might be it for him career wise. Speaking of that, calling it a career, that's just kind of sad to see. Steven Strasburg, the MVP of the 2019 World Series, was announced his retirement too. He just can't come back from his injury. So, but the Reds here, like Hunter Green, I don't like him against this Arizona lineup. They cooled off, but they're starting to put it back together again. And Fadat here, a young pitcher who struggled, but Cincinnati's been struggling offensively. Like, they have the tools there. Like, we've seen De La Cruz put the games together. We've seen McLean put games together. We've seen Christian and Encarnacion Strand have some flashes, but it doesn't seem like they're consistently doing it or all at the same time. So that makes Cincinnati a GPP stack for me. And Fadat definitely playable in the cheap range if the weather's bad in Baltimore and you're looking for an option. He's only $600 more than Irving. But Arizona is probably one of my favorite stacks on the slate here that does not have weather affecting them. So I think they'll be in my cash stack. Kansas City and Seattle, Singer and Miller. Singer's been better recently. He's had some hard matchups. Seattle can be that for him. I think he just faced them not too long ago. So I'm probably going to be off him, and maybe in the cheap range if you want, but Seattle is just starting to put together, and it's just been fire, especially Julio Rodriguez recently. Miller on the other side, he came out and was super strong, tailed off a little bit. Strikeouts are down. Maybe they're starting a good book on him, but it is Kansas City. They have the lowest total on the slate at 3.31. So I think if you're not playing Cease, Miller is definitely a good pitcher in the mid-range, or maybe you go Cease and Miller, or play a combination of Cease, Miller, Bassett, and stay away from the high, stay away from the low, and that helps you be a little bit different and get some unique stacks for bats. And so you don't have to go like a high stack and a value stack. Maybe you can get two, like go 4 and 4 and two solid good spot stacks today. So just keep that in mind as you're building. Kansas City, again, I said will probably be my least favorite stack here. Some of the cheap guys there as fill-ins you could against Miller. And then Seattle, I like them as my third favorite GPP stack. And I think, it's more of a stack or fade from them. I don't think I'd take them as one-offs. Final game, Braves and San Francisco Giants. Strider, 12.8, most expensive guy in FanDuel, also really priced up. Strikeout pitcher against a strikeout lineup. They're in a pitcher's park here, and the wind's blowing 10 miles per hour. That really doesn't seem to matter. In San Francisco, it's always cool there at night. It's 63 degrees. So it is great pitching weather. It's a great pitching park. It's a great pitching matchup. Everything says play Strider if you can afford him and make it work. Logan Webb on the other side kind of neutralizes the Braves. Again, everything I say for Strider holds true for Webb. And even though the Braves have been elite and world class, this might be a matchup that kind of slows them down. And their pricing is really hard to justify against such a good pitching matchup. And the Giants bullpen is not horrible. So I think, Strider's definitely in play. Webb, I have no interest, but I think in GPPs, or if you're doing 150 max, keep a couple of them there, because he might be able to shut down the Braves, and he'll have such low ownership. If he works out, then that'll definitely be a huge advantage for you. So I'm not saying play a ton, like 5% or less if you're doing 150 max. And then Braves, I have them as my fifth favorite stack tonight, just because I know what they can do, but I think they're almost more of a contrarian GPP stack against Webb. And San Francisco would be the ultimate leverage stack against Strider, but I have stacked against Strider all season long, and there have been a couple of times where he's got lit up and not made it out of 2 innings. I think it was the Mets a couple of weeks ago, and their ownership was just so low. and it helped me do really well in a tournament. So let's look at the lineup builds and get you on your way for your day. Again, you really have to check for weather, so check back tonight around 6:30. If I sense any of these games, as always, I throw notes out there. If somebody gets canceled, if there's any updates, I always try to throw something out in the chat in this video. So I'm taking Strider, I'm taking Arizona, so give me Walker, Marte, Carroll, and Pham. And then I'm taking White Sox, so Anderson, Mercado, a probably punt catcher. And then for outfield, probably have to take like Alex Thomas, or you'll just have to figure out which your fifth Arizona player is going to be if you're going to go 5 Arizonas, because Kennedy at third's cheap. Alex Thomas is cheap. Their catcher's cheap. Whichever one you feel the most confident in. And I'm probably going to have to pay down for Irvin or Fadat for my SP2 to make it work. FanDuel, Strider, Walker, Marte, Carroll are the ones I'm taking. I think I'm going to cherry pick the best value each position. So give me Abreu in outfield, give me Adames in shortstop. I don't think I'm going to have a full secondary stack there. I don't think I'm going to go 4-4 or even 4-3-1. But I'm considering not playing Walker because it's a righty on righty matchup, and had maybe like 4 or 5 games ago he was hot, but he's cooled off and not done much, and that really saves me a lot of salary if I go with some other guys in the lineup. Because you can play more outfielders in FanDuel. You can play 4 of them. So maybe I go with like a Pham and a Gurriel or something like that. I want to see how the lineup comes out. If Perdomo's back out there, like leading off or something, then, I'll see how the lineup comes out, and maybe if Lewis breaks the lineup, he's usually pretty cheap. There might be ways to make it work so I can actually get a secondary stack and go 4-4 Arizona and somebody else with Strider. But again, I'll just have to wait for lineups to come out to make that decision. GPP taking Cease. Give me Baltimore. They'd probably be my top stack with the rain. I'm just a little bit concerned. So Rushman, Mountcastle, Betts, and Santander, who's I'm taking. You can throw in Hayes. You can throw Gunnar Henderson, hits well on both sides. Westberg, like him also with the matchup against the lefty there. So there's so many different guys, as I said earlier, you can play in Baltimore. And then I'm going to fill in Dodgers. So give me Bush, give me Betts. And then there's so many other cheap players on there like Outman or who I wouldn't play Rojas probably. If you have to, you have to. But there's some really cheap fill-ins from the Dodgers, or you can get, if you don't play Bush, if you go down to SP2, maybe get Muncy in there at third base. There's lots of ways to go. Again, like I said, in this lineup, maybe go like Cease Bassett or Cease Miller and like stay like right in that, and then you can get like some of these really good bats better than the other ones who tried to get Strider and Irving, and then a good stack in, and then had to really punt at a lot of positions. It should make your overall lineup more balanced, and that could help you in the long run. For FanDuel, Cease, Rushman or Mountcastle, play the other one in utility if you like both of them and can't choose. Batser, you can use them outfield. You can get Muncy in here comfortably. Shortstop, I probably going to punt for that one. And then Santander, Hayes, and then figure out how you want to fill in. It's okay if you don't go, if you have to punt shortstop and it's a one-off there, but if you can make it work with either Gunnar Henderson, or I think there might be some people on the Dodgers that are Rosario, if he's in, would be nice, but I think it's probably just going to be a one-off. So that's what I got for you. If you have any questions, you can put them in the chat below. Hit me up at Twitter at MetaGuru31. If you want more information on FSi DFS, you can go to the description of the video, and it gives you a link to the website where you can sign up for all of our packages. And there's still a nice deal on the football season coming up, so get into that before the season starts and it goes back to full price. And if these videos help you, you've already helped us out by watching to this point, so I thank you for that. But if you want to go the extra mile, please like the video, subscribe to our channel, and share with your friends. So hope everybody has a good weekend. Hope the East Coast stays dry enough to get some of these good matchups in, and check out my NASCAR videos this weekend. McKinley will have the baseball video tomorrow, and we'll see you next time.